Hello there, thanks for joining me again. Last year I did a series of videos, one of my return to wild camping after many years, in which I did a bivvy camp without a tarp and discovered all the great reasons why, even when you're using a hoop bivvy, having a tarp with you is a great option to have. And then I did a lot of research and I got hold of a tarp, and I did a couple of videos one on a couple of tarp setup options for up on the moors rather than setting it up in woodland, and another showing a wild camp that I did using one of those setups. And yeah, I decided to get a British Army Basha, and I just wanted to do a video just explaining some of the basics as to what one of these things is, and some of the pros and cons, just to help you if you're going through the same decision making process. So stick with me and let's get to it. So this beastie is the standard issue British Army tarp, commonly referred to as a Basha. Comes in a number of different patterns, which I'll explain in a little while. It weighs about a kilogram or 2.2 pounds if you don't do metric. So basically I just want to take you through what it looks like, what it offers, some of the pros and some of the cons. So there you have it, pegged out in all its glory. This one is MTP, multi-terrain pattern, which I think is a really good pattern for out on the moorland, because it's fairly light and fits in well with sort of bracken and heather and all of those sort of things. There's two patterns that are called DPM, Distributed Pattern Material, one of which is a darker one for woodland, and then there's a lighter one for desert use. But the MTP was brought out to replace those and cover a broader range of situations, and I think for the UK up in the moorland, which is where I do most of my camping, that's a really good option. For pegging out, it has 14 eyes evenly placed around the edge and 8 of these hoops, so it's as flexible as you can get for pegging out and doing, you know, different patterns to set up your shelter for the night. In the centre it also has another loop, which is really useful for tying back out to another pole to give tension to your setup, or I suppose it could come useful in woodland as well for tying up to branches or whatever. Stitching is all heavy duty and reinforced where needed, and it also has webbing sewn in all along the edge, and these carrying handles which serve to let you use it as a stretcher should you need, and should you have the personnel with you on your wild camp to to carry somebody. But yeah, interesting, that shows its intended use in the military. Not sure how well you can see that, but all along the main seam from end to end is really heavily seam sealed, so it's a very waterproof piece of kit. The material it's made from is a pretty heavy PU coated nylon. Now when I was researching these, I didn't quite know what to expect, because everybody makes a big play on how heavy the British Army Basha is compared to some lightweight tarps. I was wondering, you know, is it like the sort of tarp material that you'd get on the back of a Land Rover or something like that, you know, sort of a canvassy type of thing? But it isn't. It's kind of, you know, it is a quite, you know, light, flexible material. The heaviness, it's heavy compared to a really lightweight tarp, and you know, that is one of the things that you've got to bear in mind. So, how big is it? Well, across that way. It's 213 centimetres, or 84 inches. And this way, (253 centimetres) or 100 inches. That comes out about 8'5" by 7'1", I think. So it's a bit smaller than one of the other popular tarp configurations of 3x3 metres, but that is a pro or a con depending on your chosen usage of a tarp. I think for setting up on the ground this is perfect, you know, so for up on moorland where you're setting up a shelter often in quite a kind of a limited flat space that you found, I think this is perfect. 3.3 can be, you know, quite big to get a low tight shelter in a confined space. In woodland, maybe, you know, if you've got trees to hang it up from, the extra space under a 3x3 is you know, more what you'd really want. So horses for courses really, but for my application this works brilliantly. So what are the pros and cons of the British Army Basha? Well, right at the top of the list for me is the price that you can get these for. You can pick them up anywhere between, say, £25 all the way up to £50, and that'll depend on condition, whether it's unissued, A1 condition, A2 condition, or sometimes the pattern as well. Certain patterns are more difficult to get hold of than others, but for value for money, yeah, hard to touch. The overall robustness of it, it's a very tough piece of kit. Hate to use the term bulletproof, as it's very much overused in relation to camping equipment, but you know, this is about as near as you can get with the quality of the stitching, the webbing, the actual robustness of the material itself, the seam sealing. You know, just a fabulous tough piece of kit. Size I'd put down as a pro. For my application, it's the ideal size for what I do, moorland camping. It's not too small, not too big, so I'd put size down as a pro. And yeah, just the overall flexibility with the number of loops, eyelets, all of that goes together to make a very, very flexible piece of kit that you can set up in so many different ways. As I say, I'll put a link into some videos that I've done myself, but there's loads out there from people who are much more experienced and expert in setting up tarps, and if you've got one with all of these tie-out points, you can do pretty much what you want with it. The biggest one really is weight. It's, you know, you can probably get a lightweight tarp that's half the weight of this, so you'll have to decide whether, for the price point and the robustness, you know, do you really want to save another 500 grams? If you do, you might want to go for a more lightweight option. Connected with that is the pack size. A really lightweight tarp will pack down, you know, very small, whereas this is quite a bulky piece of kit. So again, horses for courses. The size of it can go in the cons column as well, because if you're in, you know, camping in woodland, you may find that a 3x3 tarp is a better option for you. So again, that's something you'll need to decide for your own usage. So before we wrap up, another question that often gets asked is why? You can get backpacking tents that are lighter than this, and when you combine it with a bivvy bag, you know, you're up to kind of even a standard non-lightweight tent. You know, my Banshee's only just over 2 kilograms. So why would you do this? And it's all about the experience. Obviously the conditions need to be right. You probably wouldn't want to do this in the middle of winter unless it was an emergency, but for the right conditions in the late spring, summertime, so long as you're not mobbed by midges, the experience is just something else. You're just so close to nature. You're out in the open. You can see out of your tent all night. You can see the dawn. It is an amazing experience, and one that I'd thoroughly recommend. So yeah, it's horses for courses. I wouldn't go on a multi-day hike possibly and do tarp and bivvy. I'd probably take a lightweight tent, but you know, as an experience, it's different, and it's well worth looking into. So then, I hope that answers the basic question: what is a British Army Basha? I'll link to some of the other videos, as I say, below, so if you check those out, you'll be able to see why I decided to purchase this, trying out some different setups, and then using it out on some moorland on a wild camp. If you've got any other questions, you know, do mention it below. And you know, if you're an experienced Basha user and you think I've forgotten something, by all means, you know, let us know. Just adds to the conversation. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed it, I would much appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and maybe consider subscribing. And with that, I'll say ta-ra and see you on the next one. Thanks folks.